A very good morning to you and welcome back to another daily market outlook. So your dollar has been moving further in towards the downside. Yesterday we got a change of character after breaking the low of this bearish candle over here, which pushed price in towards this area of supply, which is also, if we look at the overall swing in price over here, the 50% mark of that overall swing range. So we pretty much pulled back exactly in towards that 50% mark over here, rejected it and started moving in towards the downside. The overall price action that we've been seeing is ascending and corrective, which 9 out of 10 times will lead to a further drop in the overall price. So what I'm looking at the moment is after that change of character low got broken over here of this bearish candle. So in theory, what you're seeing is a push up, a pullback, and then a push up. So that's the low of the bearish candle over here, which broke this high. And then after breaking that low, you get a change of character and you ultimately expect that the trend will then continue in towards the downside. So we've retraced back in towards this buy before the sell candle yesterday and have been moving down lower ever since. So what I'm expecting for the rest of today is a continuation in towards the downside from euro dollar, and we will soon, I expect, see this low get broken over here and the overall descending trend and the bearish trend on euro dollar to continue in towards the downside. So that's what I'm looking for at the moment. Now going in towards the 15-minute time frame, what you can then see overall yesterday is obviously we were looking at, okay, the potential for this area of demand over here to hold and provide us with something. However, as you can see, we never saw a bullish reaction at all. So this is crucial, guys. When you have areas of supply and demand, it doesn't matter if they are supply or if they are demand. If you do not see market structure react within that area, there is no trade over there. Even if it's just a single bullish candle such as this one over here, it doesn't mean you are ready to buy. No, you need to see a shift in the overall market structure, and that is when you can then look for a potential trade. So taking that into account, what we then saw was obviously the lows over here broken, further pushing towards the downside, then again descending corrective price action, which led to an impulse in towards the highs correction, taking out this liquidity high over here, and then obviously the market then correcting back in towards the downside. So as of this morning, we are pretty much just consolidating over here, moving sideways, nothing really happening. I'm currently just waiting for the market to now put in a new lower low and then again trade with the overall trend further in towards the downside. I might be a little bit more aggressive if we are already breaking the low over here of this structure. Then I might, if we do see a retracement, already get in on an entry a little bit earlier. So that's what I'm looking for on euro dollar for the rest of today, expecting that further downside from this pair. Overall, the 1 hour as well is looking pretty good for a further drop, and the 4 hour especially. So obviously, if you were to trade the 4 hour, you could also just take a trade like this, sell on that area of supply, and then just short in towards that new lower low. Overall risk reward is not ideal, but it is just an idea. So that's what I'm looking for on your dollar further downside. Now going in towards the dollar index, obviously we are still slightly consolidative here on the 4 hour time frame, just moving sideways within this range. So what I'm looking for is the range high now to get taken out over here, as we've already taken out the range low. So that's what I'm looking for on the dollar index. Very, very simple, not going to be making it too complicated. Overall, looking at the 15-minute time frame, we can see that the overall trend on the 15 played out very beautifully. So what you can see is pretty much the low, the lower high, the lower low, lower high, and then again a lower low was put in, and then we broke the overall structure in towards the highs. So we created a higher high, and now we've created a possible higher low after tapping in towards this area of demand over here. So this area of demand is demand because if you look at, for example, the 1 hour time frame, you can see perfectly that this is your sell before the big buy in towards the high. So that means that there's a lot of orders within this single candle. It liquidated the lows over here and it caused kind of like this V-shaped reaction back in towards the highs. Now what you then saw that the market did, I'm just removing all the lines, is that it pulled back exactly in towards that sell before the buy over here, and then again V-shaped reaction back in towards the highs. So now what I'm just looking for is a continuation of the overall trend further in towards the highs over here on the dollar index, and looking if we can continue on our route up in towards that overall 4 hour area of liquidity above this high of around 104.420. So that's a dollar index for you. Now going in towards Aussie dollar. So Aussie dollar pulled even higher yesterday, grabbing the liquidity as we pretty much expected on the 15-minute time frame. So what happened yesterday is that, remember guys, this over here was where liquidity was lying above this overall trend line. What we had marked out yesterday was exactly this over here, and as we can see, played out to absolute perfection. So we got that tap in towards that area of demand, pretty much again liquidated the low of the range. What then happened is that we moved up higher in towards the high of the overall range. So what you can see is that once the liquidity was taken from the high of, let's say, this range over here, but also above this entire area of trendline liquidity, and if we just pull this line to the right, you can then see, okay, we grabbed the liquidity from above the highs, tap in towards that overall 50% mark. Remember guys, 50% mark over here on the 4 hour, and then gave us a V-shaped reaction back in towards the downside. Boom, boom, very aggressive in towards the downside. So for me, obviously this is a BOS over here, a breakout structure, meaning that this is now your swing low, this is now your swing high, but we have to take into account the way that we broke the high, right? So this over here is just purely a liquidity grab, V-shaped reaction. So I'm going to be very hesitant with looking for buys back in towards the highs from, for example, this area. Obviously this area will likely give a reaction, or some areas over here will give reactions to the price. But obviously I am personally not going to really be looking for any longs yet. What I'll more be doing is I'll be looking to see, okay, are there any shorts to capitalize on and to trade with the overall trend down lower, and with the anticipation that we will push down lower. A small indicator that we are going to move down lower already is the overall 4-hour fractal structure. So what happened on the 4-hour time frame is that we've already broken the low of this bullish candle, which was the low which took out this high over here, but also broke the fractal structure by breaking this high over here as well. So this low got broken, meaning that the fractal structure here on the 4-hour is now bearish. So I would personally like to see correction or continuation of the overall correction further in towards the downside. As you can see, we break the highs over here, and then what happens? Rejection. We break the high over here, rejection. So there's not a lot of bullish momentum overall as well. The overall correction is corrective ascending. So for me, I'm just looking for a further continuation in towards the downside, and I do expect this area of demand to get hit soon. So that is Aussie dollar for you. Now moving on in towards pound dollar. So yesterday I was in a pound dollar short, but I got out at break even. Just didn't like what we were seeing overall. Here on the 4-hour time frame, we've now broken this fractal high of this bearish candle's wick. Again, overall, not much. What I was looking for yesterday was pretty much the same as on euro dollar, just for this area of supply, which broke, let's say, the fractal low over here, to continue in towards the downside and grab all the liquidity which lies below this trend line, because we've grabbed the liquidity above this overall range now several times. So I'm now looking to see that overall downside continuation, but pound dollar is just a little bit different at the moment. It seems like it wants to grab liquidity more and more every single time. This is also a very strong area of support and resistance. So obviously a lot of people trying to short here, but also trade the breakout. So it's kind of like a big level of indecision within this market. So what I'm waiting for at the moment is just to see, okay, where we're going to break out into in the near future. This is just very consolidative price action, so I'll be waiting for now. As we can clearly see, yesterday's expectation did play out. We did in fact grab the liquidity below these lows over here, and we pushed in towards that 1-hour area of demand, which then caused the market to continue in towards the upside. So a pretty good trade if you did go long from here, but for me overall just a little bit too consolidative, and I was waiting for a further continuation in towards the downside. But for now I'll just be staying out and waiting over here on pound dollar until we start breaking the highs and really closing above it, or breaking the lows over here. There's now again a lot of liquidity being built up below these lows, because this low is open, this low is open, and this low is open. So a lot of liquidity below the lows still to be grabbed, and it will happen in my opinion in the very near future. Moving on in towards NZDUSD. NZDUSD tapped in towards this area of demand over here. And guys, if you want to have an indicator to mark out your areas of supply and demand, use the 50% body candle indicator. And what you can then do is mark out those white candlesticks where big impulses in price comes from. So for example, over here, if you see the white candlesticks, 50% body candle, pretty much just indicates a range, and then a big move down. What you'll then see is that we see a reaction. Again, white candlestick, big move up, and then what happens? Reaction. Again, white candlestick, big move up, and then again we see a reaction. So you can use that to your advantage. Little tip: So yeah, overall here on NZDUSD, obviously still in 4-hour bearish from this high in towards this low. Rejection of the overall supply zone, crashed in towards the downside. So for now, what I'm looking for and waiting for is pretty much just the low over here to go. And then I'll be happy to look for a short in towards the downside further with the overall trend. For the rest, it's a little bit indecisive, but I do expect some reaction over here, as we've already been seeing. So we could see a pullback in towards the highs this morning. So overall here on the 15-minute time frame, what is going on? Well, we entered this 15-minute area of demand over here, but there's no liquidation in this move up. So what is likely to happen is probably a further push down, maybe grabbing more liquidity, and then maybe a reversal up higher, back up in towards the supply zone, or we'll see a reaction from here, liquidating the current early buyers already, and then a reversal back in towards this area of supply, from where you can then look for a potential short once again. So keep that in mind on NZDUSD. Now moving on in towards our last pair, which is gold. So gold has been reacting to this area of demand over here, moving back in towards the highs, and is likely to hit our area of supply very, very soon. Yesterday, what happened was that we started crashing in towards the downside after grabbing liquidity above this area of range once again, and then just tanked in towards the downside. So yeah, grab the liquidity below this low over here, and then a V-shaped reaction. So from that moment onwards, when you see that V-shaped reaction, a lot of bullish momentum coming in. So now definitely expecting a little bit of a higher price today and reaching this area of supply at around 2030. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Wish you all a fantastic trading day, and we will speak soon. Thanks.